Hello everyone, welcome to the first video of this mini-series about Project Closeout, and in this first video I'm going to talk about stakeholders acceptance. So when we finish the project, we go through what we call the project closeout, and this has a process. The purpose of this project is to obtain the formal acceptance of the deliverables of the project and results by the stakeholders, and therefore this is we need to validate each one of the deliverables that we worked on. So this process has a couple of characteristics. We need to make sure that the project's objectives have been met. We need to make sure to close all of all the open items, and we might need to release some of the resources, and I'll be talking about that later on. You might also need to do is obviously to document all the documents we created through the process. We need to archive them and make sure they are accessible in case later on they are needed for use. And finally, at the end, you might also have to link the result that you have from the project into the business itself. So the stakeholders acceptance is important because the stakeholders obviously have an interest in the project success for many reasons. Maybe because the project benefits are needed to achieve a specific goal, maybe because the project results will be used by the stakeholder, or because the stakeholder is the one that funded the project and wants to maybe see a return on that investment. So the key stakeholders here will validate that the project results meet the needs of the organization or the needs that were established to the project in the charter. There's three main approaches on how stakeholders can accept the results of the project. The first one is you have a direct stakeholder testing and analyzing as an independent reviewer. In other words, the stakeholder will check the results or check the process itself and see, does it meet what he said, what he wanted to meet. This might mean that the stakeholder needs some technical knowledge, and therefore this is not always possible to do. The second option is that the stakeholder reviews all the deliverables documentation and checks if all the documents follow the initial plan and if the results were indeed achieved. And finally, you might have the stakeholder bringing in an independent consultant to verify the results of the project. Now, each project is different and you have to choose the best way to actually accept the deliverables of the project. But normally, because of the nature of the project, it's quite easy to know which one of the approaches should be used. So the stakeholder acceptance, though, should be formally documented in the project files and should be signed. And therefore, you need to have some level of proof. Okay, and when we say proof, we mean documentation, stating that indeed the stakeholder has accepted the results of the project. But sometimes the stakeholder might say that there are a couple of things that are unfinished in the project, and you might have to finish those items. So a closeout punch list is a list of open action items compiled after the initial review of the stakeholder. So in other words, there is an initial review. They ask you to complete actually a couple of things that they believe don't meet the standards of the project, and you might have to do those items. The items must be therefore completed for the project to be able to be closed, and this will define the end of the project. You just have to be careful so that in every review the stakeholder does not try to add more and more tasks, because then that would be scope creep. So this tool, we use it as a way to reduce our scope creep indeed at the end, and also to ensure that all the project deliverables are completed in a satisfactory manner. So how would this table look like? Something very simple like this. We have a first column, which is the code. Then we have a description, or the item that we need to do, who's going to do it and their responsibility, the date by which needs to be completed, and what is the current status of this specific issue that needs to be addressed. So as you can see, stakeholder acceptance is a process that can take many different approaches, and that does not mean just because you have the closed meeting does not mean the project will be immediately closed, and therefore we have to be careful on that. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you on the next video of this mini series.